images are integral to journalism, but we've come a long way from the days where an issue appeared without images. Since the development of photography, the printed image has garnered the power to connect with readers in unprecedented ways. All the most newsworthy events of the 20th and 21st centuries have been chronicled in the pages of this newspaper. Our photojournalists and their lenses have been alongside the most monumental moments of the past 100 years, getting as close to the action as possible, often risking their lives in the process. Photography came into its own in the 1960s. The magazine's first cover showed attention-grabbing images of the model, Jean Shrimpton, posing in a skimpy Mary Quant dress, alongside an image of the Burnley striker, Jimmy McIlroy in his claret shirt. Colour gave our audience a whole new perspective. And this launched the golden era for photojournalism. From the fashion photography of Terry O'Neill to the portraits of Lord Snowdon, we featured incredible moments in time from the likes of David Bailey, Eve Arnold and John Bulmer, with his unforgettable images of life in the 60s and 70s of Britain. Perhaps nobody opened the eyes of readers to the harrowing nature of the world as much as Don McCullin, a dashing working-class guy from Finsbury Park. His dispatches from wars in Vietnam, Biafra, Congo, Cambodia, Uganda, West Bengal, and the troubles in Northern Ireland were often grim, but always essential. He took photographs of death and famine that have haunted him for half a century. At the age of 87, he now lives in Somerset and spent the lockdown reprinting all his images. It brought back a lot of memories. Today, the picture editors put much thought into how they present imagery in the paper and magazine, knowing what an impact they can have. One of the newspaper's current photographers is Peter Dench. Peter has covered many aspects of British life for the Sunday Times, Scrabble tournaments, English B&Bs and fry-ups at the seaside. The editor of the magazine, Chrissy Murrison, has recently commissioned Peter to photograph the increasingly popular Boardmasters Festival at the height of summer in Newquay. And as Don McCullin's house is on the way, Peter decided to pop in and see him.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Don. Nice to meet you.
Okay, well, I mean, you're just in time. The rain's going to come in. Mind your head. Where is it? Oh, this will be interesting because it's got this, you see. I bought a Rolleicord camera, cost me £30, and then I started turning the camera on the local gangs, the boys I grew up with. That was the beginning when I realised that where I lived in North London, I was surrounded by incredible images. I think some of my best work has been done here in England. You know, I knew the north of England because I worked on a steam train when I was a very young boy. So I knew there was quite a rich pickings up there photographically. These men are unemployed and they're gathering coal dust that's been drifting down from a colliery on the sea. I mean, this is in the mid-70s before mining collapsed. It's one of my favourite pictures in a way. I took this photograph in Bradford. These children all slept in their unheated room. These Catholic boys in the Brookside are running away from British CS gas and rubber bullets. So these men would sleep round this fire at night in Spitalfield Market. When I look at the pictures, I'm more proud of those pictures than any of my foreign assignments like Vietnam and all those other things. So this is 1968 in the Tet Offensive in the citadel of Hue. What happened was I screamed to those soldiers, "Bring him to me, bring him to me." And they ran with him towards me and they fell with him. And I picked him up on my shoulders and carried him away from this battle. In the end, they started to like me because once I carried that soldier away, they knew like I was okay. When the battle was over, I was like a bit of a zombie. It wasn't post-traumatic stress. It was me over living, over experiencing, over kind of thinking, not much sleep, filthy, stinking with my own clothes I hadn't taken off for 2 weeks. And in a way you start analysing, this is photography, I'm not meant to be like this. But I was working for the Sunday Times, and at the back of my mind I thought, I'm going to take back to England the most powerful set of pictures that the Sunday Times readers have ever seen. What's happened is this man in the bag, he and I, we were both walking together, and a Chinese hand grenade landed between us. And I dived into a depression in the ground. He didn't know where to go, and it went off and blew the back of his head out, killed him. He's dead in that poncho. Could have been me in that sack. I'm here. I realise how lucky I am because I lost so many colleagues. I know 3 men on the Sunday Times I worked with were killed in wars. There was a man called David Holden. There was another man called Nicholas Tomlin who I was with when he got killed. I was just behind him on the Golan Heights. But I'm now going to show you a picture which I think is probably one of the most tragic pictures I've ever taken in any war, because it's not the dead that's so shocking, it's the living that are trying to be dead. And this is a 24-year-old woman in the Biafran War, which was in 1968 also. You can see she's on her last legs. The truth of the story is in the eyes. It's really a bad day for humanity, really. You would need 10 lifetimes if you were training to be a journalist or a photojournalist, to know what to do, what not to do. And I think the only way to learn was to show human respect. I'm not a callous person. I think because I'm not callous, I have certain porous kind of things that I allow some things to come in and some things to go out. So I know how to behave myself. I know how to respect. This house, there's 60,000 negatives in the filing cabinets, 10,000 prints. And I think, when I go to bed at night, that surrounded by all this poisonous material, because that's what it is, a lot of this material, it's poisonous. It's things that should never have happened. And when I go to bed at night, I think this house is poisoned itself. I'm not proud of this. The only reason it's all labelled and database is because one day someone will stagger over this and they would want to find out what it's all about and why it was done. And this was all done, most of it, or the best part of my work, came into that period at the Sunday Times. I was totally on fire when I worked at the Sunday Times. All I wanted was that phone to ring, give me that air ticket, and now, if I never see another aeroplane, I'll be the happiest man in the world.
It's a long time since I've seen a light meter.
Do you know,
wandering around?
I never shoot a picture without a light. In the war, I used to stand up, take the reading, go down, and then come up quick and take the picture and then go down. We used to have grapes on here, but 2 years ago they all died off, and then I think this is dying. It's been here 26 years, this thing.